Man, I love this kind of heavy metal. It's so straight to the point, no BS, just pure and powerful rock music played to its heaviest denominator. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be giving a look to Pentagram, that band that became notorious for that particular video that went viral a few months ago. And I didn't want to spend time reacting to them before I actually had some time listening to their music. But I gotta tell you that I was very surprised to see that they are actually a very good band from the 70s, and I actually enjoyed their music quite a lot. And today we're gonna be analyzing one of the tracks together. So if this is your jam, let's rock and roll. But before we go, if this is your first time on the channel, I welcome you because in here we analyze the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer, using language that everybody can understand in a way to expand our knowledge when it comes to music production and songwriting and of course music appreciation. So with that being said, let's rock and roll. Here we go. So here we go, The Sign of a Wolf by Pentagram. Man, I love this kind of heavy metal. It's so straight to the point, no BS, just pure and powerful rock music played to its heaviest denominator. Now, the mix is obviously a sign of its origin, right? It sounds not as pristine as something coming out of, I don't know, like Black Sabbath, for example, which they kind of have this particular tone, don't you think? It sounds similar to them, but also a little bit of Deep Purple and some elements of Rainbow to a certain degree. Not surprising because you got Dio being part of Black Sabbath and Richie Blackmore being part of Deep Purple, and then joining forces to create Rainbow. But wherever. Great composition so far. I love how they are so in your face. I love the drumming. It's very fun. It's very exciting. It's very punchy. Of course, the quality of the production is not gonna be necessarily the finest, due to, well, it's kind of underground nature, don't you think? Because for as far as I know, these guys have been around since the 70s, and they only became popular or got actual recognition in the masses by the masses when they actually got that meme that became viral, and everybody was actually kind of mesmerized by the beauty of his eyes. Bobby is, I think, is the name of the singer, right? And even though I consider myself a metalhead, these guys were totally under my radar. I didn't know about them. And now that they became popular, I actually can see how much I missed. Their music is very on my alley. I particularly like the sound of the bass in this recording because it kind of has a little bit of fuzz, don't you think? Fuzz, for those of you who don't know, it's an effect that we use to distort the guitar sound, or in this case, the sound of the bass. And fuzz sounds like this. Right now, I'm applying a little bit of fuzz to my voice, and you can hear that the sound is starting to get a little bit distorted. Of course, on vocals is not necessarily the the best use for a fuzz, but you start to get an idea. Once I press play, pay attention to the sound of the bass, and you'll see that there is a little bit of that hairiness to it that allows for the guitars and the drums to blend in better. That's actually a very good technique. I love fuzz on when producing bass guitar for heavy rock. Now the guitar tone, I like it a lot. It kind of makes me think of better times. Why do I say that? It's because the sound is so to the point, in your face. It's heavy, it's ballsy, it's jet clean. The guitar solo was very, very cool. And the whole articulation of the guitar, it's super, super projected. I don't know how to describe it. For those of you who are guitar players yourself, I think you know what I mean, right? Each note felt correct, and you can even feel how or hear how the amplifier reacted to his playing, to his guitar. So cool. Now, the vocals. There is something funny around them happening. Let me explain. There is a little bit of an extra layer to the sound of his vocals. It's not just the raw recording. Of course, you got reverb, which is a way that we use to recreate the sound of space through artificial methods, such as this one, reverb. You see that there is a little bit of a release tail on my voice. But there is something else going on. I think it could be two options. It could be a double vocal, which is quite common if you listen to Ozzy Osbourne's music. He, most of the time, is doubling his vocals. And that means, basically speaking, recording the same take twice and playing the back at the same time, just using a different balancing volume for each of them. That creates this kind of very interesting and kind of eerie tone to the sound of the vocals. But the second option is that they applied a delay, which a delay stands for an effect that we use to duplicate, to get repetitions of a sound. And it sounds like this, delay. I used a very exaggerated version of it, but you can control how fast those repetitions happen right after the sound came through the effect. And in this case, I think they are using something known as a slapback, which is super fast delay, that it's almost immediate right after the signal went through the effect, creating kind of a double layer. I don't know exactly what's going on because this kind of effects is difficult to tell by listening to this, to the final record. So it could be both. If you happen to know something about it, please let me know in the comment section. Now, let's listen to the rest of the track, and then we're going to be analyzing the mix. Ready? Here we go.
Stories unfold, but they've all been told when he sold his soul to the Pentagram. And to end his life, though the silver is old, he will reach his goal by the Pentagram. And now, don't know how, but it's happening to me. Got the love from above, but it's happening to me. Yeah. Tell me one more time. Now, don't know how, but it's happening to me. Got the love from above, but it's happening to me. Yeah. It's alright. I can't turn back now. 'Cause it's a sign of the wolf.
Badass. Love that final section with the harmony on the guitars. Very reminiscent to Thin Lizzy, don't you think? It reminds me a lot of them, quite a lot, to the sound of that band, and also another awesome band from that era, which of course became much more famous than these guys were back then. But now, let's talk about the mix, because there are many things that I would like to show you. Look, even though we're dealing with a mix that is not necessarily gonna earn any Grammy or something like that, I think what makes this mix particularly special is that it sounds natural, don't you think? It's what it should be. And taking a look at the screen now, you'll see that we got here our first analyzer. This is decibel, for those of you who don't know. And this section allows us to see music when it comes to the way that each of the frequencies that comprises our human hearing range, starting at 20 hertz all the way down to 20,000 hertz, how loud they were throughout time. and the highest point is displayed by this particular white line. And you can see plenty of low end, super big low end, and it makes sense because we got a huge bass. I think the bass is even louder than the kick, don't you think? It's a little bit chesty. It's gonna put some hair on your chest if that makes sense to you. Has plenty of presence in the mix. It's a little bit even louder than certain sections of the guitar. That's not a bad thing, simply a style. And it actually makes sense because this also makes me think of doom metal and stoner rock, which happen to have this particularity as well. And these guys, being from this particular period of time, makes them kind of trendsetters, don't you think? Like the vanguard in that regard, for some of those new, more modern sounds that became part of the rock pantheon or rock ethos. Now, when it comes to the mid range, you see that we got, here's the guitar, because I don't know if well, I tried to show you or make it visible when I was bringing the stereo analyzer. The stereo analyzer, let me just briefly explain to you how to understand it as well. Shows you this is the left and this is the right, okay, clearly. And this is the center. But the higher the line goes, it's also the frequency spectrum as well. So this is the low end all the way up to the high end. And I noticed at the beginning of the track that my vocals used to be here. I could hear that the vocal is slightly leaning to the left, to my left, and not to my right, sorry. While the guitar, which is living in this section, is slightly leaning to the right. That's actually kind of fun. Normally speaking, you would mix your vocals to have them in the center most of the time, because the center information gives us the impression of it being the lead. Without trying to go super nerdy in the mixing thing, you usually should have your kick drum, bass, snare to a certain degree, and vocals or lead sounds usually in the center most of the time, because that kind of makes sense, and then the rest of the harmony surrounding the central information. Okay, but in this case we got a little bit of a spread. That was actually cool, and I like that. That was actually a very nice sign. Now, taking a look at the second section of the screen here, we're gonna get our dynamic range analyzer. This is very important because dynamic range stands for how loud a signal was throughout time. And this blue blob is showing us the difference in volume throughout the performance throughout time, okay? And in this case, we got the lower it is, the quieter it gets, okay? And this being full-on hard rock / proto-heavy metal, very little changes in dynamics. Nothing special, nothing surprising. But you have seen me in other records, or when analyzing other records, that I always praise or spend quite a lot of time trying to emphasize on the importance of dynamic range. Because depending on how different it is, for example, if you got a quiet part, it will feel a bit more personal and intimate. And in contrast, a louder part will feel more bombastic and energetic. But this being very full force, right into your face, no nonsense kind of music, there is no point for you to have a high dynamic range. So as you can see, context is extremely important when it comes to music. Depending on what you're doing, sometimes breaking the rules makes more sense than following them by the book. And in here, we clearly see that this is the first half of the track. This is a short track, by the way, of course. So you got the first section, barely changing, not that big of a difference in between sections. And let's take a look at the second half. Once I reach to it, more of the same. Is that a problem? Totally not. Because again, since this is a very energetic and full force track, it would be kind of stupid for it to have that big of a dip. Also, one of the benefits of this track is that it's short. If you were dealing with something a little bit more on the compared to something like Black Sabbath's, what's the name of that one? Heaven and Hell. That's a way longer track, but it actually has plenty of moments that allows the track to feel organic and also avoid it from becoming boring or repetitive. So that's much more on the compositional side of things rather than the mixing thing. Okay. But all in all, great track. I enjoyed it. As I stated in the introduction to this video, I didn't know about them until they became a meme. And I'm glad that I discovered them, because they're actually a very good band. It's basically one of my favorite kind of music, hard rock, especially heavy metal. And I happen to love this kind of approach to mixing and music production in general, because it feels very organic. Some of you have been asking me, why do I think modern music sounds not as good as this? And one of the main reasons why, it's because this is very, very personal. It sounds like they put passion into it. It's not about perfection. It's about delivering a message and making it resonate with people at an emotional level, if that makes sense to you. So there you have it. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. And if you like to support this kind of content, of course, subscribing, leaving a like, and also ringing the notification bell help us a lot. And of course, you can support us that way, but also you can be a little bit more proactive, and you can listen to our music on Apple Music and Spotify, which is kind of influenced by this kind of music, but it's not necessarily the same style, but it's very, very influenced by it. And you might like it if you like these guys. So you can give it a try on Apple Music or Spotify, but also you can join our Discord, which is gonna be linked in the description to this video, so you can be part of the conversation and we can keep this conversation going. With that being said, the only thing that is left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I will see you when I see you.